Hello everyone! Welcome back to Let's Play! Great Ace Attorney! This is V-Diffuser. In our last episode, we finished Case 4. We've been through a great departure, tackled the mysterious case of the unbreakable speckled band, the adventure of the runaway room, and the clouded Kokoro. Now it's time for the last chapter of the unspeakable story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Let's rock and roll. This is the second Sherlock Holmes book I've actually read.
It's coming! Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited, breathlessly, in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smouldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles."
Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. In that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country, and in Sosuke-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. Excuse me. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. 15th of April, about 8 days after my sister's birthday. Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking at the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san? Yes! Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. Shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? Yes! Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. Let's see, we have a lot of things to look at. The Dharma doll I brought with me from home, still with only one eye colored in. I said I'd color the other eye once I won my first court here in Britain, but you have one, haven't you? Twice, in fact, because I feel as though I'm still lacking as a lawyer. Tell you what, why don't you color the other eye in once you think I'm a proper, fully fledged lawyer? If you insist. So, we're gonna be waiting for a while, aren't we? I've investigated thoroughly, but I can't find anything out of place. Come on, that's a ladder. or a stepladder. That spade has been in here since we started renting the place. Oh, that's not a spade, Naruhodo-san. It's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. There's the stepladder and ladder argument. No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel. I don't want to dig a hole for myself, so let's leave it. It's spring at last, and the weather is warmer now, but I love the smell of fire and the steam rising from the kettle. Would you like some tea, Naruhodo-san? Thank you, Susato-san, but I'm alright for now. With the green tea Susato makes me from time to time and Iris's unique herbal infusions, this place is paradise for a true tea lover. Yeah, not too shabby. I'd be interested in trying a few of them. Green tea is such a wonderful accompaniment to British tea cakes, don't you think? I've actually had traditional green tea, and it was an interesting experience, but probably not one I'd have again. This must be the telegram. Let's see. Ah! No, you mustn't look at that. Not under any circumstances. Alright, I won't. I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san, but you can be very mischievous at times. Hey, at least we're not Larry Butts. And put the telegram away if you don't want people looking at it. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but you're not gonna get away with that. Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing. Nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. Ahem. It's just a boring old telegram. That's 3 times now she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. Alright, I understand. Sosuke-san. I suppose Sosuke-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which would mean he should have completed the voyage already, or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him, do you remember? Complaining of seasickness. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? I was just wondering what might have become of Sosuke had he stayed in London, that's all. You mean, as regards Lord Van Zeeks, the Reaper? Yes. I can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. The Reaper. What is it they say? That no one who stands on the dock can be saved by the Reaper, right? Like the way that nightmarish trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. Even 2 months on, the cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery. At least Sosuke-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps? Even if that's the case, it's a little comforting. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. No, I don't think so. Apparently Lord Van Zeeks hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. Oh? Well, he only appears for us. I'm not sure whether I should be a little disappointed or not. Since Sosuke-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems. Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So it's just been me who has had to face him in this recent spate of trials since then. Just my luck. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. What was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Alright. Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Oh, good Lord. Oh, wow. Holmes, you're supposed to be a good violinist. That isn't good violin playing. Iris? What is it, Runo? What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. You read my mind, Runosuke. Ah, yes. You noticed that, did you? Hurley isn't the best foreman this morning, it seems. Hello. Hello, Mr. Schultz? Good morning. A good morning to die, perhaps? What's got you down? Has something happened, Mr. Schultz? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before. My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Damn this blanched existence! That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Oh, they adopted Wagahai? Good morning, boy. That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did they get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. It would indeed be a fine day to die. Someone hasn't had his coffee. Where'd the typewriter go? This is where Iris notes down ideas, isn't it? What does it say today? The Boscombe Valley Mystery. How intriguing! It must be the title of Iris' latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tale awaits us. She looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most unsavory crime you could imagine. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home, then. Oh yes, and I've become very attached to little Waggy. It would appear his previous owner has completely forgotten to him. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their mews as empty as the hearts of the muses. If Natsume had no intention of taking Wagi back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expect he would have taken him if he could. Pets are strictly forbidden aboard steamships in our experience. Yep, not that exactly that stopped some people from taking them aboard. And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed. Well, I don't mind, because Waggy is adorable. He really is. Nice, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where'd it come from? Oh, you noticed! You observant, Runo. I'd adopt a cat, but my dad really doesn't like cats. I used this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the Cat Flap-O-Mat. A machine for making doors just for cats. Kind of a niche market. You can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. And it can do it in any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see. Good lord, it can carve through stone? Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap? Well, yes, maybe. Now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. Hehehe. Alright, with that. Where is the violin? Fire's burning comfortably. Oh, that's what I'm thinking. A lady displayed on the mantelpiece. Could it be? Yes, it must be. It's the woman. How exciting. Is that supposed to mean something to me? Oh, that must be Irene Adler. Oh, we got an achievement for that, I guess. Where is the violin? Wanting to die. Oh, I missed a step, that's why. You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the case that in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its mellowsonant tones would make flowers bloom. It would. But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Jones? For hours I have bowed, for days even. Through the night I have endeavored, to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone. Gone forever! No more recitals of unbridled emotion! Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? Don't worry, I'm sure it'll come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruto. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man, the next they unmercifully withdraw it. Yeah, an artist's life. I know that well. Oh dear. Ah! Why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left for pity's sake? What is left? Well, you have your looks. seduction, perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but your desk looks rather empty today. Ah, well done, Miss Susato. Your observational skills do you credit. Oh no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale into insignificance when compared to yours. You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? You mean Hurley's great analytoscope? It's at Windibank's now. Sorry, it's at Windibank? No, Windibank's, the pawnbrokery. Oh, we don't have any of those out here. Or at least, not where I live. Pawn? What? You mean you pawned that enormous machine of yours? It has some considerable value, you see. Quite undeservingly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I would have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Dear madam, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbrokery is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is. It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works. What's to understand exactly? Because I sure as hell don't understand it either. How pawnbroking works. What did you mean when you said you didn't fully understand how it worked? To the people of London, pawnbrokeries are akin to banks. Banks? On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in inner London. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn, should the need arise. How ingenious. So whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at Windibank's, you see. A pawnbrokery can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain? Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. What was that? Wagahat? Well, the jury's out. The cat doesn't like his playing either. What was that? Oh no! Wagahai's tangled up in your violin. I think he thinks it's a toy. No! What's he doing to it? Oh dear, Mr. Sholmes' precious violin. That'd cost him a pretty penny if it was a Stradivarius. Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. If the cat is a more accomplished musician than I am. Get yourself together, Sholmes. Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives. Shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach, if possible. There it is. I knew I was getting ahead of myself. I always seem to do that. So this is a violin, and it sure looks like it's seen better days. It's a Stradivari. Oh, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier, Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. It doesn't really look like anything special to me. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down in a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until today, it has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I made. I ask you, is there a reason to live in a world devoid of music to tolerate this blanched existence? No! There is none! Mr. Jones? What, dear madam? What? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think? Huh? What do you mean, Miss Suzata? Oh, Susie's right. The tone of wood is completely different. And that's not all. I'm sure there was no crack here before. What? It's not even the right size, is it? What's this? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. Oh god, you're not gonna say what I think you're saying, are you? Because those would be fighting words. Then what? I believe it's an entirely different instrument called a viola. Well done, guys. Those are fighting words to any classical musician. Oh, especially someone who's lived with a classical musician all their life. What? 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 Ace detective, huh? For someone who's an ace detective, you really couldn't see that coming. You're supposed to know the difference between a violin and a viola. Mr. Sholmes, are you alright? You're right! You are quite right! This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? Evidently you're not a fan of viola. Not your faithful performing partner, then? I see what must have happened. You do, Iris. This is just a simple mix-up. Sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what happened if we ask her. Oh, God, Iris. What did you mean by a mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this viola, I mean, was at Windibank's until last week. At the Pawnbroker's. Not Mr. Sholmes' beloved musical partner. There's a proverb from the East, with which you are no doubt familiar, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Yes, indeed. So you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hope that it would experience personal growth. Oh, what a wonderful idea! Last week I pawned my great analytoscope in order to release my precious instrument. But it would appear Mr. Windibank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. No, a fiddle is different than a violin. God help me, I don't know what the difference is, but it is very different. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. And yet they were earlier. No, but your every sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. Chaw! A fine state of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruhodo, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fiddle you every time. You might want to be careful who you say that to. But earlier you told us you could think of a pawnbroker as an extremely secure vault. Come, Mr. Naruhodo. Dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that vacant aspect. Pressing your coffee so obtusely. English, dude. English. You're in Britain. Why aren't you speaking it? Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency which we are faced? We must visit Mr. Windibank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes? Precisely, Miss Suzato, without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect, to press your egg ever more obtusely. Yes, I indeed wish to. I'd have biscuits and gravy too, but that's more of a thing in America than it is here. Alright, say no more. Let's go then. Don't worry, Runo. I'll be happy to heat it up for you again later. Thank you, Iris. As it happens, I am rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker looks like. We got everything there. Alrighty. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. It's time for us to move. Excuse me. Windibank's Pawnbroker. So this is a British pawnbroker. Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before. Ah, Suzato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Windibank of our ire. Come! A fight is afoot! Huh. What are you supposed to be? What are you doing, my fellows? We're not here to browse for interesting curios. We are come to teach this broker a lesson. There are just so many fascinating items. Looks as though we'll have to talk to Mr. Windibank first before he can explore in here. Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes. This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windibank. The color of the wood is different. It has holes in it. It's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me. Inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There is only one way to make amends. Holy shit, what are you doing? No, 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 no. I'll have to take my own... You think this is acceptable? No, take it easy there, big guy. You think this is funny? I don't think that will be necessary. Do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Oh, God. Ah, yes. It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry. As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, "Ah, here it is." You did. You're just like me. You get ahead of yourself. And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the violin and left, sir. However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, dude, no, no. Stop, my dear fellow. The fault is mine. Good. Put the gun down. Walk away. Whew. It would appear that the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windibank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Sherlock Holmes without that questionable disposition now, would you? Haha, I do believe you may be right, sir. Ha ha ha! It's either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needn't remind you of the peculiar collection of items you brought through my door in the past. Oh? Peculiar items? In the extreme, ma'am, for example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the novels of Sherlock Holmes or some such. Oh my! A new fully fledged novel? And unpublished? A story I've yet to read, you mean? Ah! Forgive me! Wait, before you die, you must tell me more! Put it down, please! Tell me everything. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windibank. For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir. Not a farthing more. It houses something of very great value indeed. The latest manuscript recounting the adventure of one Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I'm confident we will be quite safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant here in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? Oh! I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Of course, sir, of course. As safe and sound with me, I assure you. On my life, put it down. This is all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? Ah, gentleman from the East, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry. Aha! But for your splendid attire, ma'am. 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic. Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokers are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you describe. I praise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure storage. stowage. If in that time they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, the items are happily returned. What happens if they don't pay you the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months have passed, then? That's right, ma'am, that's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to... No, that's not the only recompense for you. The very idea, Mr. Windybank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually. Yes, for once you're talking sense. Says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. And let us not forget that I've already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. What sort of measures? I engineered a simple device, to which Mr. Windybank has installed here in his shop. I call it the Red-Handed Recorder. Is it not so, Mr. Windybank? What was that deep sigh about? What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are two just below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute! It is indeed a camera furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. Every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Yes, a print from the camera, set to record the activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image, even in darkness. Really? That's extraordinary. You can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look. So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would summarily be exposed. But did you not say the photographic prints were all taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. But what if the incident were to occur in between times? One could only say, that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess, your devices have been giving me some cause for distress of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Windybank? Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not one, but 2 cameras in my shop after all. Which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbrokery, no? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us. Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. That's what a violin looks like. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Windybank. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop, Because if anything were to happen to one of them, this would be the only answer. No, it would not. I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry. I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed. That doesn't help. Good day to you then, Mr. Windybank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. Now put that gun down. Mr. Naruhodo, now we can explore at last. Alrighty, we have crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine. These are forfeited items offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially pop an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he's free to display it in his shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Now you've explained it, I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. So you may pawn that black olive of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform? Never! It embodies my student spirit. What do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you're looking at is a stereoscope. Oh lord, a stereoscope? I can't do these things. It isn't aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself. Excuse me a moment while I have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you will need to be cross-eyed. I can't cross my eyes. If that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. I'm gonna try it. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, you must see, at once. I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. What the? I don't believe it. I still can't see it. The sense of depth is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. This is gonna bite me in the ass. And on that note, we will continue this next episode.